Face to the screen again, fellow slaves. Once again, we're outdoors, so there's going to be some road noise. It's a Sunday afternoon, so it's not too loud. Hopefully it doesn't bother you too much. I was shooting a first take on this a minute ago, and the airplane went over, and then I screwed up, and whatever. I'm starting over. So yeah, my foreign car, it's this 1986 Volvo. Not my daily driver anymore because the brake lights and stuff, it needs some wiring issues addressed, so I don't really drive it very much. I mean, I can drive it, but I kind of don't like to because of the light issues, legality and stuff. But so when I first shot this video a moment ago, it was about 11.75 volts at the battery, so that's pretty low. But this car did start with that. I mean, this car is okay with having a bit of a weak battery. It'll still start. I did start it and ran it for about a minute. So now we got 12.26 with the battery, with the car off. So I'm going to start it up again. It was at like 1390 the last time I started it. When it was running, the battery was at 1390, which is good because I didn't even drive it. It's just idling. Started up a little easier this time. This is at 1230, 1225, whatever I just got there. That's pretty low even still. Now we're at 1386. That's not too bad for a running car. I didn't give it any gas. Like I said, I haven't been driving it. If I gave it some gas, it'd probably go up. But I'm also holding the camera and the tool at the same time. I just can't do all those things at the same time. Let me shut this off so it's not so noisy. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead, shut this off, take the battery out, and set it up at my workstation and do the same process again. I'm going to try to make this video better, shorter, and more concise, and actually finish the project on video this time. So, bear with me. It's going to, there's going to be some pauses here in this video, so here goes one. And I'm back. I'd like to give you a quick look at my stick welder, which is, sorry there's a radio going on in the background. This is the stick welder, the titanium stick 225. I got this at Harbor Freight for about 300 bucks, I think, when it was all said and done with tax and all that. And like I said in the other video, you can weld either with it electrode negative or electrode positive. You just swap these wires. So make sure when you hook this up to your battery, you have the one you're hooking up to the battery negative to negative and positive to positive. You can accidentally swap this around and make some confusion there. So this is your amperage setting. At the bottom, it's 15. The dotted line here in the middle, that's if you have it hooked up to 120 volts. The solid green bar on the outside, that is if you have it hooked up to 240. The main difference is, I think I've explained this in another video, that the duty cycle is basically for every 10 minutes of welding, like for every 2 minutes, you can run this thing for 2 minutes on 120, and then you should probably let it cool down for the rest of the 10 minutes. So it's like weld for 2 minutes, let it rest for 8 minutes. I'm just kind of pulling numbers out of my butt here, but like if you run it on 240, then you can weld for like twice, you can weld for like 5 out of 10 minutes or whatever, something like, I can't remember the numbers, look it up. So just a basic cheap stick welder. It's not the cheapest one they had, but it's a decent one. I think that it's working pretty great for this. And the thing is, these batteries are expensive enough these days that if I can rejuvenate 3 of these batteries, that's pretty much going to pay for this stick welder easily. I think doing the 2 batteries already has already paid for it. So let me pause this again, and we'll see what happens when I try to reshoot the video with it not turned. I got to remember to turn it sideways. Damn it. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully, we're back to filming as normal. Sorry that I was holding the phone the wrong direction when I was doing the bit about the stick welder. It's kind of hard to see. I don't have a flashlight in my hand, but the water level's low again, so we're going to start with that. We're going to top it off. Maybe not top it off as much as I did with that Grand Marquis yesterday, because it did bubble over, and I don't really want to do that this time. So we'll see. I'm going to pause it again and then get going. Okay, and I just double checked. Right now we are at 12.18 volts. And so I cleaned around the cells and added the water now. Just enough to barely get to the bottom of that little cone. So I don't think I'm going to overfill it this time. It only took about 3 or 4 ounces. Top them all off. And 921. So this is just over a 2-year-old battery. It must have already been a couple months old when I bought it, because I'm pretty sure I bought it earlier in the year 2022, but whatever. It still seems to be holding up okay, despite being in a car that's parked all the time. So let me pause it again, and it may be a while before I rejoin you here, but we're at 1218 volts. Battery cells are topped off with water, and we're going to hook her up and let her go. Okay, we are connected and energized. And I've got this set up so I can do it with one hand, and you can see the reading here. It's 1452, so I've got it set as low as it goes. Let me increase the voltage, or the amperage. I'm going to say it's going to need at least 20 amps. 1555, 1556. About one more volt than that, so we're going to go almost to 30 amps, 120 volt on the stick welder. 1623, we're getting close. I want that 16.5 magic number, so we're right at 30 now on the 120 volt scale. 1648, man. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more, because after a few minutes it's probably going to climb back down a little bit on its own as it does its thing. I thought I turned it up. I know I turned it up, it just didn't go up. 1644, what's going on here? And it's bubbling. So this one looks like it's going to need watched a little more. Like that Grand Marquis one yesterday, there was nothing I could really do. I had to turn down as low as it could possibly go, and it was still a little high. This one here, man, it's dropping. I keep turning it up and it keeps going down. It's weird. I'm at like 40 amps right now. 1645, man, it's pretty close. I'm gonna go up just a little more. Oh, I can start to smell that that gas coming out of there. Kind of irritates the sinuses and throat. Man, this won't go up anymore. I guess every battery's a little different. All right, we're gonna leave it there. 1655 is close enough. A little over, but I'll live with that. So, start the clock. It's already been running for almost 5 minutes now, but I don't want to count that because it wasn't really the right voltage anyway. So, in the interest of brevity, I'm going to pause it again. Hopefully I can keep this video 15 minutes or less. But it's going to be a couple more hours before I can finish it, so I don't really edit these videos. I just kind of pause the recording and then pick it back up later, so hopefully it turns out okay. I might have to make a second part if it doesn't work out. So I think I've been pretty clear and concise so far. We'll just have to give it some time, see what it does. Hopefully this one doesn't bubble over. It doesn't look like it's going to. This is why I don't like maintenance-free batteries. Maintenance-free batteries are for idiots, man. Like, you can't even get in there and fix it if you want to, you know, or even try. It's just disposable garbage at that point. And, you know, if you can get whatever you can do to get a little more time out of these things that keeps them from being recycled, or the energy required to do that, or, you know, produce the new ones, you know, I mean, I'm not like a huge environmentalist, you know, but I do like to conserve. I'm conservative. So if we can conserve batteries and preserve them as long as possible, keep them running in the car, then that's good for everybody, right? Maybe not so good for the battery manufacturers, but hey, whatever. They'll have to figure out a way to make enough money to get by. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, so we'll pause it. Okay, I'm back, and I wanted to give a quick demonstration of how this thing works. It's pretty simple, just follow the directions, but for anybody that's never seen it, see that little cross at the top there? Like, that's the fill level. I'm a little bit low, but that's close enough. And then you can see if you're holding it level or not. So you hold it level, shake those little air bubbles off the thing in there, because the little air bubbles can kind of pick up on it and give you a higher reading than what you actually have. But we're down in a pretty poor range here. The first cell was 1150. This second cell is like 1130. That's pretty poor. So we'll see how this does. I will pause the video again, and we will be back shortly. Alright, so I got our specific gravity numbers. 1150, 1130, 1160, 1170, 1210, and 1150 right there. So let's just pause it again, and probably just going to sit and let it ride for a couple hours now. I should check my voltage again here real quick. Let's see here. I'm trying to set it so you can see it too. It's all the way down to 1553 again. That's bizarre, man. Why I gotta keep turning this thing up? 1625. I'm at like 50 amps right now. But I guess it takes what it takes. You know, you're trying to hit that 16.5 volt goal, and you're just gonna run that until it causes the specific gravity to rise in that fluid. So I don't know why I'm not at 0 right now. Doesn't make any damn sense. Just having it hooked up to the negative side gives it a reading. Again, that's kind of weird to me, but anyway, pausing. Alright, so just a quick update here at about the 25-minute mark. The voltage just keeps going down a little bit. It got down to about 1630 just now, so I turned it up. I'm at a little over 60 amps right now, which is the highest I've ever had to crank this thing for this. The battery I did on the truck first, I don't think I ever got over 30 amps. The car, and like I said earlier, I couldn't even turn the machine down low enough at first. Like after about 2 hours, I was able to start turning it up just a little bit. But like I said, this one I've got cranked over 60 amps, and it's starting to normalize. Like it's not dropping as fast as it was at first. So just got to check it every 10 minutes or whatever, and I'll just try to keep you updated anytime something significant happens. But for the rest of the video, it's probably just going to be the wrap up at the end, hopefully. And I haven't checked the specific gravity on this fluid yet in here because it hasn't been really very long yet. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit longer than this. So probably at about the 1 hour mark, I'll check that and maybe give you an update then. So hang on. I suppose now might be a good time to just give you a quick rundown of a couple other things here. The tool that I'm using here, I've already described it some in my other videos and some in this one. It was like $8 at AutoZone. You should be able to pick one of these up pretty much at any part store. Simple tool. You just suck the liquid up into it with this turkey baster bulb thing. And sometimes it doesn't fill up to that line that you want there in the middle, so what I do is I'll just turn it upside down so the air bubble rises, and then you just kind of squeeze out a little bit of that air, and then you turn it upside down carefully, put it back in the cell, and then release the bulb, and it sucks up a little bit more. You really do want to have it at that line, because if you don't have enough in there, it'll give you a low reading. So it's got to have enough juice in there. So if you're not familiar with what specific gravity actually is, water is 1.000, so it's even below the bottom of this scale. Water is the baseline because it's the most abundant, you know, it's just standard water, 1.000. That's so anything that's thicker than water is going to be above that number. Anything thinner, like if you if you take some unpasteurized apple cider and you turn it hard, like you make hard cider out of it, then it actually goes below 1.000. It gets down to like 990 or something. So it's actually thinner than water at that point, because alcohol is thinner than water, and there's enough alcohol in it that like none of the sugar remains. Sugar in the water increases the density, the thickness of the liquid. Like if you add honey to water, it makes it thicker, so you'd have a higher reading. Like when you brew beer, if you start with like say a wort that's like 1070, you know, if you're mixing up your mash and stuff with the water, malt mash with the water, then it's the more sugar, the higher the number. And then after it ferments, the yeast eats that sugar, turns it into carbon dioxide and alcohol, so the number goes back down closer to 1.000. That's how you can calculate how much alcohol there is in it. I think that's how they calculate calorie content too, because you can determine how much remaining sugar there is, and you can kind of guess or get a really good determination of what amount of sugar there still is in it and calories therefore. And stuff that finishes out higher, obviously you might want to add some more hops to balance it out, give it a little bit of bitterness with that sweetness. You know, that's why India Pale Ale is more hoppy, because it has more alcohol and sugar in it. Beg your pardon, my wife interrupted me and came out to ask me a question, and she had to go to the store. So where was I? Basically, I think you get the idea now that the buoyancy, you know, it's just a float inside there. That little needle floats up, gives you a number. There's other ways to measure it. I'm not sure if a spectrometer would work on this. A spectrometer works by you put a few drops in it and then you look through it and you see the light and it changes, like you can see how dark it is. I think that's more for stuff that has dye in it, like antifreeze. I hear you can use it for making beer, but I'm not sure how one works. I've never used one, but you just look through it and you can see it. Wow, you can actually see some fumes coming out of there now. I wonder what my voltage is. I should check that. Hang on. And that brings up an important point. We're at 16.5, by the way, 1650. So right at the spot. But you can see that. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that stuff is wafting out of there. That's why you gotta have ventilation. You can hear my fan blowing in the background. You can hear the welder running. You can hear the road noise. Sorry about all that. There's nothing I can do. Sorry. So, once again, the specific gravity. You can measure your antifreeze. I'm not sure what numbers it should be, or if you should get a different tester altogether, probably, for that. It's just, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. I think I've gone long enough about it because I don't have much better information about it. Like, spectrometers seem pretty cool, but they're expensive and more fancy than what I need, so we will see what we get. This has been a while now. Like I said, I'm still at 16.5 volts. I'm still at about 62 amps, it looks like, on the dial. So we will report back here in a few minutes. Maybe this video will go about 20 minutes. We'll see. So it's been almost 1 hour now. Close enough that I'm going to shoot some more video here for a minute. Yeah, you can see that stuff on camera now. It's really outgassing a lot, this one. It's hard to get close to it. I try to hold my breath. I should maybe be wearing a respirator. I don't think it's really that harmful if you only do this once every couple years. But anyway, so actually it was about 16.66 volts just now. So I've been having to watch this one a lot more closely than the other ones. This one, once it got warmed up, I guess, I've had to drop the amperage quite a bit. And I'm back down to almost 50 now. Let's see here. And straight on. Call it maybe 52 or so, 52 amps. And yes, 1 or 2 amps does actually matter. And I checked it, it's 16.49 volts. But I expect that to increase again as it continues to increase as it has been. So I'm going to pause it again and check the specific gravity of this electrolyte. I think I should turn off the machine while I'm doing this, obviously, so it's going to take a few minutes to do it. I'll turn it off, let it cool down for a minute, test the fluid, see what I get. I'll let you know. Alright, so I measured them all. They're all between the 1275 and 1300 mark. The second to the last one, the one right there, that one was actually all the way at the top of the scale already. It's only been 1 hour, so I might just let it run for about another half hour and say I'm done, because I think I'm done. It's weird. It's a smaller battery. I just find that a few things are a bit odd about this one, that it took so many more amps to get it up to the 16.5 volt target range. I would think maybe it would take less being a smaller battery, but hey. Oh, and another thing is, it is actually quite a bit warmer to the touch. Like, it's not really hot, boiling hot, but it's quite a bit warmer than the other two batteries got, so that's why I'm only going to do it for maybe another half hour at the most, and probably just call it good at that time. You just return the fluid back to the cell. Oh, interestingly, about the Grand Marquis battery, this morning when I went to check it after it sat in the car overnight, the fluid level had gone back down. Like, maybe the amount of heat that this generates caused it to just swell up enough, but I don't know why that battery was so much different than the one in the truck, because they're about the same size. So this is only the third battery I've done, this one right here, so I'm learning as I go, and I hope that I don't think I've done any damage. Like, this one is the hottest one, but obviously it needs it, I guess. I'm going to turn it back on, because what we're doing is, again, if you haven't seen the other videos, if you haven't seen the other videos, what we're doing is we're dissolving the acid crystals that have developed on the plates. The lead plates are therefore being blocked from interacting with the liquid acid. So the crystals are concentrated acid that have crystallized, impeding the flow between the lead and the acid, but also the acid liquid, that's why it was lower when I started. The gravity was lower when I started because it had less acid concentrate in the liquid. So I didn't have to go to the store and buy more acid. I just regenerated the acid that was in there in the crystal form back to a liquid. So scientifically, this seems like a pretty well based theory or, procedure. I've heard other people say they swear by it. I've just never really... I tried it one time, but I didn't have the stick welder at that time. I think I fried a battery because I was doing it wrong. Being able to adjust the amperage is critical to get the right amount of voltage, to get it cooking just right. Like I said, this thing's getting hot, and I should probably check the voltage again and maybe turn the amperage down. Last time I turned it down a little below 1650 because I figure it's going to go back up and I'll have to turn it down anyway. I'm about to conclude this video. I think we've about covered everything. It looks like it's working. I think I've done a demonstration of about everything I've done here. So let me pause it one more time, then I'll make sure I want to conclude at that time. Popping back in real quick. So I measured the voltage. It was at about 16.60. So 1660, which is higher than the 16.5. But I had to turn it all the way down to 45 amps. So as it's creeping, as the process is continuing here, I have to turn the amperage quite a bit back down, or else it's going to keep cooking too hot. So that's why it's important to have something you can adjust the amperage on as you go. I was trying to use a battery jump starter before, it would turn itself on for a minute and then turn itself back off at 200 amps. But that's way too many amps, first of all. Obviously, I learned that lesson. But it just does it too fast, and doing it slower is a lot easier on the lead plates. You're not causing damage. So I'm going to give it one more half hour. I think another half hour is going to do it. At the rate that it's going so far, I probably don't even need to do it, but I'm going to anyway. Just to see if I get a little bit of a higher result on that specific gravity reading. So let's just pause again. Alright, let's wrap her up this time. It was about almost exactly an hour and a half, considering I unhooked it for 5 minutes last time when I checked the specific gravity readings. So, hour and a half. This time, it got a lot hotter, and I was kind of concerned maybe I was getting it too hot. I was still going for the 16.5 volts like I've seen. The thing is, if you want to try this, I hope I've inspired you, or maybe you learned something if you want to try it. It's working for me, but if you want to do some more research before you attempt such a thing, I wouldn't discourage you from doing so. I checked a couple of the cells. Here's a sample from one. I figure I'm just going to wrap it up before it gets dark out here. You can see it's all the way at the top of the scale. I don't think that float even goes any higher, so we've got a good result that we've rejuvenated the fluid in there. It's brought those acid crystals back to a liquid form and brought it back to life. So I'm going to just check the other cells real quick. I know I keep jump cutting and pausing and saying, oh, I'm about going to wrap, but I'm going to go and check the rest of them real quick and then check the voltage. Actually, I could just do that right now. Hang on, put this blindfold on. $12.87. So it was $12.87, which of course is probably going to come down after I connect it to the car and turn the lights on for a few seconds, and then I'll see what I get, and I'll start the car and see what it's at that point. But I think I'm pretty confident, and these results are pretty conclusive. So I think it's time to shut her down because it's getting dark out and I just got to wrap it up. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, share it, or just, I'm kind of rambling now, so I'll just wrap it up. That's it. Buy the tools, get the smarts, do the tasks. Don't forget the face to the screen.